What's up, man? Polo Sports Talking ENT here again with another one. Make sure you hit the like, hit the sub, comment, notifications, all of that. You know the deal, you know the drill, okay? Now, there's going to be a merger that is going to be happening that is going to somewhat shake up the foot the college football world, okay? And a lot of people like it. A lot of people are not cool with it, you know. Um, and some people don't really understand it. Me, I'm in full understanding of what's going on, and have been for quite some time. And those of y'all that follow um, college football know that there's there's going to be an alliance as the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12 uh, are going to be happening, or they're going to be merging together. Okay, now you know it was a rumor at first. It was a rumor at first, and it was actually going to be the Big Ten, the ACC, Pac, the Pac-12, and the SEC were all originally going to form together, but that was not the case. Okay, that was not the case. Um, the reason why this is really taking place, man, it has to do really with the SEC becoming as dominant as it truly is right now. Okay, um, the SEC pretty much has had a control over over the college football world for quite some time. Okay, uh, they actually have enough power at this point in time and enough leverage to actually become its own entity and move away and say, hey, we don't need you, NCAA. That's facts right there. A lot of people don't believe that, but that's true. If you look at how powerful the SEC has become. Now, do I like the merger? Nah, not really. Because I'm of the notion that I think that all of it, should just stay like how it is because I feel like you're changing you're changing demographics, you're changing you're changing areas, you're changing schedules, you're changing time zones. It's a lot of things being affected. You're changing the scheduling, and it'll be kind of out of whack. It's kind of what took place. It kind of reminds me of what took place in college basketball. You know, all these teams have went out everywhere. Uh, they went to various conferences or whatnot, and it was some teams that you would look and you'd be like, what? Why is that team? Why is that team? In this conference or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Like it just didn't make sense to me. But yeah, it's definitely official. It's definitely official. It's definitely official. Live wire. Look, I we can't do anything but roll with the punches. We're gonna have to see how this works. Um, I mean, like the Big 12. The only reason that they did it because a lot of people understand that the UT and Oklahoma have moved over to the SEC, and everybody thinks that the SEC was calling the Big 12. I mean, calling the Big 12 for those teams. No, the Big 12 came knocking at their door. They came knocking at their door. Um, they feel like the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten feel like, okay, since y'all are going to do that, then okay, we're going to have to go ahead and get the upper hand, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to merge ourselves. So it's kind of like now it becomes a game of, okay, you got me here, now let me get you back there. It's kind of like they're trying to get one up on each other, right? Now, another thing that we also got to understand is, again, this is, I must state again, this is about power, and this is about leverage, and this is about control. Okay, um, the Big 12 has been left out in the cold unless they form some sort of playoff. And the thing about it is all of this has to do with wanting to stop the 12 team playoffs. Okay, the whole focus is to stop the 12 team playoffs. It's about power and leverage. Okay, and it's about power and politics. Right? See, what y'all have to understand is that this whole thing was a reaction to Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, and others are starting to play chess, but they're struggling to do it at this. A lot of people look at the SEC as selfish at this point in time. They look at the SEC sort of like this. Okay, they look at the SEC as a like a real estate not a real estate a Wall Street tycoon. Okay, and the Wall Street tycoon is getting a whole bunch of companies, buying them out and putting those people out of work. That's basically what the SEC is. A lot of people see what the SEC is doing. And do I see it that way? No, no. But another thing is, is that when it comes to like the Big 12, they had a problem with Fox. They had a problem with Fox, and the reason why they did is because the Big 12 didn't like the way that they were broadcasting games at like 11 a.m. in the morning time, when some people are just getting up on a Saturday morning, where they could have a prime time game at like 7 o'clock, where everybody's up, everybody's eating their meal or done had their meal or something like that, and it comes with one of the traditional games, such as a Texas versus I'm sorry about that, Oklahoma versus Nebraska game, which is a traditional game, right? But they were having problems with that. They were against the scheduling and everything. So now they're going to go ahead and they're going to form this alliance. And now the whole big question is what is the Big 12 going to do now? The Big 12 is out. The Big 12 is out in the cold. Many people wonder how can they shake things up with this alliance. Now, okay, the reason why I don't really see this as hooray or I'm cheering or anything like that, because one or two things is going to have to happen. Okay, from the Big Ten, it would have to be Notre Dame going over to the ACC, that will really kind of move the needle, so to speak, because having a team like Notre Dame in the ACC will give leverage and everything. And then also, if the Big Ten was to go west, all right, and an example of that is if they were to get a team like Oregon, if the Big Ten was focused on getting a team like Oregon or one of those teams, which is a dynamic team in football. Make no mistake about it. But also another thing that we got to look at too is, you know, they're talking about forming their own conference, which will be a departure from the NCAA as a whole. Some of these people they want to move away from the NCAA. They have enough power. Like I said before, the SEC is getting big enough to where they don't need the NCAA. Okay, um, this is about power, leverage, and control. It's about politics. Conferences want the Big 12 involved in this. They don't want the Big 12 involved in this at all. Okay. Now, I feel like this, and I'm gonna take this in a whole nother direction. Okay. Some people may agree, some people may disagree. If you want to come in and you want to express your thoughts and opinion, I can certainly understand that. Just keep it respectful or whatever. But see, this is a prime example of why I was I was feeling where LeVar Ball was coming from. Okay, and you're like, well, what do you mean? Well, LeVar Ball had tried to create his own entity to where, okay, you have you kind of cutting out the middleman, so to speak, and you're doing everything on your own to get to where you need to do. When he created the JBA, for the young boys to come in there and do their talent in hopes of getting to that next level. Well, it's kind of the same thing. It's like what stands in the way of all the conferences is the NCAA. Like me, I didn't really, I wasn't a fan of the 12 the 12 team playoffs. I wasn't a fan of it either. You know, the whole bowl championship series and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a bunch of politics, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. And if you don't know that, then you're slow or you haven't caught up. You haven't caught up to speed of what's really going on in college football because it took me a minute to kind of grasp what was truly going on. I knew that the SEC was becoming powerful, but to me, I had always had the Big 12 as, I guess you could say, because at one point the Big 12 was killing things. It was killing things in football, and it was also killing things somewhat in basketball when they were successful sometimes. But for the most part in basketball, it's mainly always been the SEC, Big East, and when you talk about Kentucky, the uh, the SEC. You know, do I like this direction that it's going? Nah, I mean I don't like the direction that it's going at all. But if they did make the SEC its own entity, I would have no problem with that. They have the power to do it. So we have to ask ourselves the question: Are they gonna detach themselves from the NCAA? Where uh, the other conferences? And is the competitive nature of the sport, is it going to diminish or is it going to get better? That's what we have to ask ourselves. That's what we have. Leave your comments. All the sports talking ENT. I holler at you.